episode 4, season 4, Falling Towards Apotheosis. And this is, I don't even know how to describe it. We're moving the story forward, but the characters all seem to be more of by the numbers characters, except for Londo and Cartagia. They are giving us some of the most delicious bits of scenery of the entire series. And the actor who plays Cartagia, they picked a perfect person. Because even though he's like, I do feel that he's holding back a little bit, because Peter Jurassic is he's the star of those scenes. But the Cartagia character is fantastic. And I don't know, if they ever reboot the series, I would love to see a little bit more Cartagia, because he is not just screws loose, he's nuts.
Does he survive this? I mean, the whole story arc right now is that they need to kill him.
Exactly.
It work where they don't kill him. I'm not spoiling anything because I don't know. I don't remember that far off, but yeah, the point is to kill this guy because he is crazy. Oh,
what was that episode 1 where Londo is like, "Oh, you're that type of crazy"? He's astounded by how much of a lunatic the Emperor is, and he's like, "Okay, we gotta kill this guy," because I don't think Londo has been like straight up, "We gotta kill this person," except for Rifa. Eventually, he's like, "I'm getting revenge on Rifa," but everybody else, he's just kind of like, trying to find a way to deal with them.
Yeah, or Jakar he wanted dead, but like at first, but he was just like in his way. Like, if you die, I'd be okay with that. It's not like I need to kill you. I'm making plans.
Right. I'm gonna arrange things in such a way that the result will be unfortunate for you somehow, or he threatens their family. He's like a mafia boss. But so we start this episode off, and I thought this was pretty funny when you said it off air that Susan Ivanova is barely in the show. She's on TV the entire time.
Yeah. She only shows up on screen.
Yeah.
On screen.
And what she's doing is she's doing kind of like a military style broadcast. Well, like an aid broadcast. She's telling all of the refugees where to go, or what bases or planets they can go to for safety. And things are changing quickly throughout the episode, because lo and behold, the people that we are fighting or that we see as the enemy now are not the Shadows currently. Like, the Shadows are the enemy, but now it's the Vorlons, because the end of last episode, we saw that the Vorlons had a massive fleet in hyperspace, and they had a planet killer ship, this giant ship with them, like a giant, I don't know what they call it. It looked like a giant tick to me. It looked gross, or a giant squid or something.
Yeah.
And they are wiping out entire planets, and this bothers all of the species, because remember, the Vorlons are supposed to be the good guys, and the Vorlons have decided, no, this war is tiresome. Our truce is over. The Shadows are terrible. So not only are we going to destroy the Shadows, we're going to destroy everything that the Shadows touched. That is like countless star bases and planets throughout the galaxy. And so the Vorlons are about to do like this genocide on a massive scale. And how dare they? Because like they were supposed to be the good guys, and now they're just like, nah, let's just wipe this whole thing out.
Well, it was kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And the Vorlons were always so suspicious. We don't know why they do things or why they don't do things, which is what they've been doing this whole time. And it's kind of like, yeah, we kind of need to stop them, but we're not going to interfere until they decide to extremely interfere. And we're still ants to them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. At one point, it's like, you don't know what they were planning on anyway. You don't know how they've been doing things. We don't know how they want to do things. It was like, we're waiting until it's the right time to strike. But the Babylon 5 species, they're like only thinking in their perspective of what that means.
Right.
We don't know what their perspective of anything is, because we don't understand anything that they do.
Right. They're
So
so
to think,
cryptic.
right. So to think that they were on our side was kind of just enemy of my enemy is my friend. Like they haven't done anything to us, so they must be our friends, which is not necessarily true.
Yeah.
They haven't done anything to us because they don't give a fuck.
And they've been very manipulative. They've changed the way they look to all the species. It makes you question their telepathy too, because like that has to be a very central part to their nature, to be like, okay, when you look at me, you're gonna see what you like. What's funny, that reminds me of Mass Effect. The Asari, they're the blue aliens in that game, and like throughout the game, you hear different conversations about what the Asari really look like. To us players, they have like a humanoid look with kind of like these tentacles that are on their heads, but to all the other species, they look like the other species. And there is even a conversation in the first game where it's like, why do humans find Asari attractive? They don't look like humans at all. They look like Solarians. And that's when you get the clue, like, oh, they're manipulating everybody, and it's part of their like, survival mechanism.
Camouflage.
Yeah, it's like a camouflage, or it could be similar to like pheromones, where you have to be attracted by it so it can spread its genes, because that's what the Asari do. The Asari is like an all-female species, and they only mate with other species to add genetic diversity. But whenever they mate with other species, they only give birth to Asari, nothing else. No mixes, no hybrids, nothing. Only Asari. They're kind of a parasitic species.
Yeah. I'm like, so how did they survive long enough in order? What were they? I guess they were mating with other things on their planet or something.
Who
Until they go.
knows? Who knows?
I'm like, that sounds like something that a very lonely man created.
Oh gosh, yeah. When we get a chance in the future to look at Mass Effect, I would love for you to look into the lore. It's pretty wild. All right, back to this episode. So, we see a distraught woman walking around, and I didn't like this scene very much because the people, like the extras, don't look like it's very chaotic. They're just kind of walking around, and she's the one that is very distraught. And she stumbles and she's like, I gotta see my husband. And then out of nowhere, we see that someone is coming towards her, because we see the first person view of this character. People are partying out of the way, and then you see a hand reach down to pick her up. And it is none other than Jesus Christ himself, Captain Sheridan. And he hands her off to Zach. And then he walks off. And with him,
But you would
go ahead.
define Zach.
Say that again.
You would have to start to find Zach.
Yeah, yeah. And Lorien is with him. Lorien is talking about how people need to believe, sounding very much like a Minbari. And Sheridan's like, they don't need to believe in me. But I think Lorien is trying to take like this stance of what we got to do is we got to, rally some hope around you, because remember when you died and everybody thought you were dead and people didn't trust nobody because they thought you were dead? We might need to, garner that support again. And so he's kind of walking around freshly resurrected from the dead, Jesus Christ character, and people are believing in him. There is something interesting about it. I think this kind of goes with Ivanova in her broadcast, because now people are listening because Sheridan's back. He's back from an impossible mission. Everybody dies on Zahadum. And then Sheridan, the only one to come back with a friend. Okay, he is very powerful, apparently, so we got to listen to this guy. So then we switch to see that Garibaldi is in his office, and he is being a straight up creeper. He's looking at footage of Sheridan and Lorien. So we see all these stills on his monitor. And then Zach comes in and he's like, oh, hey, what's going on? I thought Franklin told you to take it easy. And Garibaldi's like, look, I'm going to lose my mind if I don't do anything. Like, I'm going stir crazy, That's the ADHD talking. And Zach is like, oh, you keeping an eye on the captain? And as the audience member, of course we think that's what he's doing. But what he says is that he's trying to keep an eye on Lorien because he's like, I don't know this guy. Like, what's up with him?
Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't know. He gets scared when he don't know everything about somebody.
Right. Which is a trait that we saw in Garibaldi early on. Remember in season 2, like the opener, or when Garibaldi woke up, everybody's all happy to see him, and he looks at Sheridan and he's like, I don't know you. Like, how is that the first thing? I don't know you. So to the crew, this is just typical Garibaldi.
Mm-hmm.
And Garibaldi is questioned by Zach about his memory, and he gets frustrated. He's like, how come everybody is asking me what's wrong with my memory, but there's Sheridan, they just welcome him back with open arms, no special questions. And Zach is brushing it off because, Zach is a good person now. He's had a change. And he explains, like, Franklin said he just needs to do one more exam and then you're good to go back to work. This is good news to Garibaldi. But he asked Zach about Sheridan, and he's like, I gotta ask you a question. I've been back for how long? Okay, so since Sheridan's gotten back, he hasn't said 2 words to me. What's up with that? And that's a good question. It's like, we don't remember them sharing conversations in the past 3 episodes, right? And that's actually a good question. But again, as the audience, Garibaldi is up to some stuff. He's being shady. Mm-hmm. On Centauri Prime, my good old buddies Cartagia, Londo, and their friend Morden, they're down there. Which every time Londo, he's like, why am I here? The conversation is kind of funny because there's something wrong, right? It's not just that Cartagia is the emperor and is on the throne and he's a lunatic, but there's something drastically wrong. He tells Londo, he's like, look at the stars, look at the sky, what do you see? And Londo is like, he looks and you see like this moon, and then you see a couple of stars and a shooting star. He's like, oh, man, I don't know what the fuck. He's like, the stars. And with a crazy person, you never know what they're thinking, right? And he's like, you know what I see? Vorlons, they're out there. And it's like, come on now. I mean, yeah, but is this what this is all about? And Morden pops up. He's half toasted. He still has his wounds. And he's talking about, in order to head off the Vorlons, the Centauri are going to send a defense fleet. And it's going to help protect them. And they have a discussion about how, like, the Vorlons are destroying planets where people have been. And Morden explains, like, yeah, because that's what we used to do. We used to hide our stuff with all our allies, and the Vorlons don't want that to happen this time. But we are going to send a fleet, and we're going to head them off, and we're going to protect ourselves. And then Morden just kind of stomps off. Cartagia is like, yeah, okay, so check it out. We're actually not going to do that. That sounds like a bad idea. And Londo's like, oh my God, thank you. Okay. So we're going to get rid of the shadows, right? And he's like, no, we're not doing that. Why would we do that? And then we get one more revelation that explains the absolute disconnect with reality that Cartagia has. He tells Londo, he says, no, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to tell anybody anything. I figured, what is the point of being a god if I abandon my planet? Anybody that comes after me is going to be inferior, of course. So, obviously, we're going to turn Centauri Prime into an inauguration pyre to commemorate my ascension to godhood. And again, the look on Londo's face is like, God, we really gotta kill that guy. He is lunatic. It is so wild because Londo was trying to convince him to like get the shadow ships and like, leave. And Cartagia was like, no, I promised them they could stay. They're down on the island of Selene. So I'm going to keep my word. He's going to keep his word to the shadows, but to his own people, he's not going to protect them. Yeah. That's your narcissistic despot. He's on a whole different level.
It's like my image and my opinion of what I want is more important than anything else. So when you're king of a planet and those people are looking towards you to be, responsible, you're only thinking about your ego. Sounds familiar?
Yeah, and it's interesting. You hear that happen a lot. Some people follow with their ego, but in reality, no kings are a good idea at all. So, Mr. Cartagia, we don't tolerate kings either.
We like drag kings. That's about it. Drag kings.
I haven't been to a drag king show. I'm pretty interested in that.
I've been to a drag show that had both.
See, I haven't. So,
yeah,
I've been to a drag queen show, and they are very enthusiastic and athletic. I don't know a thing about drag kings, so that'll have to be
much better. They're much better at wearing heels than me. I don't think I've worn heels in 20 years.
Takes practice. All right.
Yeah. So now half, but yeah.
So back on Babylon 5, Franklin is playfully finishing up the exam with Garibaldi. He, talks about how he doesn't have any of the scars when he was taken over. With his clean bill of health, he can get back to work. But he said he had to check one more thing. Garibaldi's like, why do I have to get all these extra exams and stuff, right? Because the extra exam was what Sheridan asked for. I do think it's kind of interesting because Sheridan doesn't even share a scene with Garibaldi until later. So all you have is hearsay about the two characters about each other. Garibaldi is a little bit more obsessed about Sheridan, though. That just let that linger. This I thought was funny because Garibaldi is asked about his memories of what happened, and he's like, no, I don't remember anything. And then he gets a flashback of him being saran wrapped to that operating table. And yeah, you know what? I would keep that to myself too. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I bet he also has like a psychic block that won't let him even talk about what he remembers. So
yeah,
that I'll give him that the benefit of the doubt there.
It's like a sci-fi version of a trigger response, or what do you call it? Suppressed memory.
What I was gonna say was let the audience have record that Garibaldi is mentally weak enough to be manipulated in the way that he is. Look, that's the character. I'm gonna just say it. I don't really like this character very much, but it's funny to me. He's important to the story. And you're not really supposed to have like warm and fuzzies for him, right? Not really.
Mm-hmm.
He's a complicated character with a lot of flaws. There we go. Which makes him more realistic.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So, we see another broadcast for Ivanova, who also doesn't share any scenes with anybody else. She's just on TV. She talks about what other places people can go for as refugees.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it looked like she wasn't like on set at all. Like they just pre-recorded her,
right?
Or recorded her after the fact,
right? She was in some studio, and they're like, "Okay, look, you don't really have to show up for the rest of this stuff. We need to shoot you for about like 20 minutes, all right?"
Yeah. Who's on vacation,
right? But Sheridan is hanging out with Delenn, and they finally have their showdown about Anna, about Zahadum. Delenn apologizes, and Sheridan explains like, okay, yeah, I was upset, but you have to understand that the Anna that I saw in Zahadum wasn't the Anna that I knew. And I finally got to let her go, which that's a big step and an admission. Maybe he had some hope, but once he figured out like, oh, you guys are crazy. You've been brainwashed for real. He had to have that closure. Like, she's gone and she's been gone.
Well, like he said, he got to say goodbye, and there was the scene before, right after he agreed to go to Zahadum.
Mm-hmm.
he gives her, when she looks away, he gives her this like nasty look. Like his face just changes like
Yep.
suddenly.
Mm-hmm.
So like you kind of knew that he knew he was walking into a trap, but he has no problem doing that.
Right. And I think it's more of he wants to have the choice. You know,
Yeah.
he wants to have the choice to do so. And Delenn finally humbled herself to apologize for not telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. But
I don't think she kept anything from him. I'm not, because he said, "I'm sure she was. You told me you were sure she was dead." She
right,
said, "We know that no ships come back." She
right,
didn't say that they all die when they go there. She never said, we're sure she's dead. I've seen the body." She just said nobody comes back. But I don't think she lied. I think she literally told him everything that she knows, other than the fact that like she was shocked when they found out about Morgan.
yeah, yeah,
So
yep,
if Morgan was there, then there was still the possibility that they could have did it to anyone else. And he's the one like, I don't believe she would join them. I don't believe that she would be one of them. And she was like, okay, well, I'm going to trust what you say. And now she's questioning herself, like maybe I should have told him not to trust what he thought. But if you tell him not to trust what he thinks, then he snaps. So
right. Well, and I think one, she is second guessing what she said, but also like she unfortunately does come across as knowing more than she's supposed to know. Like, remember the entire series, she's holding back information that could change like how they view the whole universe. And really, the only people who, when they heard and found out, were the warrior cast. Are like, what? Is that why we stopped the war? Y'all tripping. We needed to kill these fools.
to think about it from a human perspective, it's like if you tell people that all humans are human, that race is a social construct, they're like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, we're giving you the fact. There's data to back it up. But you're still like saying that they're different races because of
Yep.
what? Something somebody said some long ago. Instead of looking at the facts that are in front of you, they're still going to fight the fact that there are different types of people. And yeah, we can't categorize each other, but we're still all human. And they don't want to accept that and they still want to fight. So what are you going to do?
Right. Yeah. At the end of that conversation, this is where Sheridan admits that what kept him going was remembering Delenn's face. And
Oh,
so this is where they finally express their love and they embrace. Back in the war room, this meeting is held by, we got Ivanova's finally in the same room as other characters. We got Franklin, Garibaldi, Allen, Zach Allen. So they were talking about what's going to happen with the refugee situation, because eventually all of the aliens are going to start coming to Babylon 5, because that's the only place that some of those aliens have other people. Like their colonies are destroyed, their planets are under attack. They're going to go to Babylon 5. Franklin suggested they should move the refugees to Epsilon 3. And this was actually a pretty good suggestion, because he's like, there has to be food and air and stuff down there, because we've never seen any supply ships. There has to be something down there for it. That was a good observation and suggestion, Franklin. Sheridan comes in. He's finally talking to Garibaldi directly, and he's this I thought was pretty interesting, because this is where they're like, well, what are we gonna do about the Vorlons? And Sheridan's like, that's what I need you for, Garibaldi. And he's like, oh, okay. He tells him, you're gonna be an instrumental part of my plan, because I need you to go down and remove Ulkesh from the station. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's gonna like destroy our people. He's like, I just need you to do it. And he's like, is this part of your plan? He's like, yes. Well, what's your plan? I can't tell you. He's like, what? Garibaldi is like, you don't trust me. And Sheridan's like, no, it's not that I don't trust you. It's that we don't know the extent of Vorlon telepathy, And so if I told you what the full plan was, they might figure it out. So I need you to go down with your people, knowing what you know now, and escort them out. We'll deal with the rest of it. So Garibaldi is put in a position, when they finally talk, Garibaldi is put in a position where Sheridan is kind of ordering him around and leaving out information, building up that case.
Yeah, because Garibaldi hates not knowing everything.
Right.
And that's where he is right now.
Lorien brings up something I thought that was really great. He says, the shadows and the Vorlons are alike. They are both first ones, which this is what, as an audience, we need to pay attention to, that they are extremely old and they are very powerful. And the reason why the shadows were able to kill Kosh is because they're the same. They're the same type of being. And but for Sheridan to kill a Vorlon, it's going to be extremely difficult for a human, because humans are just fundamentally different. We're flesh and blood. We are not like what these things are. The plan that they have is really great. But it's interesting because not only is Sheridan set up to do what no other human has done before, but he was also resurrected from the dead, came back from the Forbidden Planet, saving people in their faith. He's like you said off air, he's the Jesus Christ character. Now, anyway. He is a Jesus Christ character, because I kind of feel like that's what they were setting up Sinclair as. They were setting Sinclair up as that too.
But he was the Christ figure for the Minbari.
Yeah. Yes.
Right. Literally.
And then Lorien and Lita arrive. Lita is enlisted to be part of the plan. And then this part is actually pretty quick. So Garibaldi and his security team, they go down into the alien sector, and they're armed to the tooth, and they got all their gear on, and they're like, hey, bro, you need to go. And Ulkesh is like, what? Like, how dare you, you little flea? He basically uses his telekinesis to injure the team. He has a high-pitched sound coming from him, and he's like driving them back. And these people barely get out of there. And remember, Ulkesh is like, he's a jerk. He's an asshole. And he doesn't like humans, so he also doesn't like being there, and he's not being gentle with anybody. It makes me wonder if that's like the general temperament of the Vorlons now, because with Kosh, Kosh was distant and aloof, but wise, and Ulkesh is just pissed off all the time.
Like, why I gotta deal with humans? Where the first Kosh was like, yeah, okay, little human.
Come on, little humans, we gotta get you right in line for your destiny. But yeah, the security team gets kind of beat up. Londo reaches out and contacts Sheridan, and he's asking about the Vorlons. Like, hey, have you seen what the Vorlons have been doing? Ain't that shit crazy? Like, are they coming this way? And Sheridan's like, yeah. Hey, have you seen them around? Are they looking for us? Because, I heard they was telling everybody some stuff. And Sheridan's like, yeah, they're about like 7 or 8 days away from y'all. And Londo's like, there is a rumor that the Vorlons have gone mad, and they are destroying everything that the shadows have touched. And Sheridan's like, yep, that seems to be what they're doing. Londo Mollari, who started a war. Yeah. And the idea is giving Londo some time to figure something out to save his people. Back on the station, Lita with her gills exposed, which that is such a weird thing for them to do. I get it, but it's just weird. And maybe that's why they did it.
Yeah. I guess they wanted to show that she had been altered.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying it, because we might forget. Yeah. And they did a lot of visuals with her to show like what she's going through with this Kosh.
Yeah. Well,
but she really exhausted from dealing with him. They put that heavy eyeliner on.
Yeah. Yeah, she's going through her emo phase. Also, remember, there is another character that has gills that we've just never talked about it. Jakar, remember, he had gills implanted so he could talk to that alien insect thingy.
Oh.
Yep. I don't know if that was episode 1. It had to be like the very first episode. I think it was in The Gathering, the pilot. Yeah.
That was a while ago. Yeah.
Yeah. We never talked about it ever again. So Lita, she is warning Ulkesh. She's like, look, they don't want you here anymore, and they're going to try to attack you. And he's like, they've already tried. It was meaningless. You know, he's doing his best, like, megalomaniac aloofness. And Lita's like, look, they're going to try again. But I think one of the humans has a piece of Kosh in him, but they won't let me get close enough to find out. And this is where she finally distracts Ulkesh. She's like, wait a minute, one of the humans has one of us in prison? She goes, yeah, that's what's going on.
She lies so horribly.
Yeah.
Like, is she acting? It looks like she's acting badly, but she's acting like she's acting badly.
Yeah. She's a liar, and yeah. and she's like, I think I know how we can get him out, but they won't let me close, so I need you to come. And she finally lures him out of his quarters, and they're walking. I don't know where they're walking to, but she's like peering over her shoulder because she's moving a little bit faster and looks real nervous, like you were saying, like acting badly. And Ulkesh is moving super slow because he's an ass. And Ulkesh is like, wait a minute, your thoughts are cloudy. I can't see what's going on. And she finally lures him out into the open, and he's like, wait a minute, something's not right. And then the camera focuses on all of these glowing yellow boxes that say high voltage. And she's like, now. And the boxes, electricity erupts from them. And she's trying to get away, and Ulkesh lashes out at her. And I thought this was funny. She tries to jump over like this pile of debris, and she gets hung up on a crate thing and just like tumbles face first over it. I don't know if they planned it for her to do that, but she looked like that was A, an accident, and B, that hurt.
I need to hide behind something. I'm just going to not think. Or maybe she was like, maybe that's exactly what was happening. She wasn't thinking. Or to do the thing so that he doesn't read her mind.
Yeah.
And she has to, turn back to thinking on.
Probably. And while those things are going off, the electricity, it's a lot of them too. The electricity is kind of holding it in place. And then Sheridan plus the security team, they all come out and they're blasting their PPGs at them, and they're just going crazy. And they switch to a pillar, and out of nowhere, Delenn is there. She's just there watching. And I just thought that was so funny because I'm like, this is an extremely dangerous situation. You are completely useless. We don't even need you to be seen.
She likes being in those situations, even though she doesn't like those situations.
Yeah.
I think that's why she likes Sheridan so much, because he keeps putting them in danger when she knows it's dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
But she's perfectly okay with it for some reason.
Yeah. And so all of that is going off. Ulkesh is like lashing back. Eventually, the security team pops open his encounter suit, and out comes what the Vorlon actually looks like. Now, Mel, can you just give me your description of what the Vorlon looks like?
Energy squid?
Yes. Yes, he looks like a giant energy squid, and it's gross looking. It reminds me of Avatar, Legend of Korra. Rava and Saratu.
Oh, yeah.
So Rava and I can't remember their names. Rava and Vatu. Rava and Vatu.
Yeah. The ones that turn her into the giant.
They're the spirits that turn. Oh, what was his name? The first one, the first Avatar.
Yeah,
they're the ones that. Well, the good one. one is the light and one is dark, and the light one is the one that is the Avatar lineage. Anyway, that's what he looks like to me. And he's like floating around. He looks like a ghost from Ghostbusters, actually. While that's going on, they're still firing at him. And then this is where Lorien is like, now. And I'm like, now what? Delenn is about to be attacked by the squid thingy. And Sheridan pops out and he's like, has his back to it. And when Lorien says now, he lets the piece of Kosh that is in Sheridan come out and attach to Ulkesh. This is weird. This whole situation is weird. And it takes some deep lore heads to understand what's going on. It's the spirit of Kosh, the last piece of him that is alive, fighting to protect Sheridan and the humans of Babylon 5 against the whole of another Vorlon. And then the spirit of another first one is helping. It is weird. It is so weird. So the Vorlons battle and they are like wrapped up, and Ulkesh's living ship actually takes off from Babylon 5, and then both of the Vorlons are battling towards the ship. They get to the ship and there is a large explosion, which apparently kills both of the Vorlons. Sheridan is face down and not moving on the deck. And Delenn is like, oh my God, is he all right? And Lorien is like, don't touch him. No touchy. I got work to do here. I need to replenish his life force, which I have lots of questions. Because Sheridan's already died. Lorien.
Recharging battery.
Right. And Lorien is basically like giving his life force to replenish Sheridan's. We go back to Centauri Prime, and Londo is finally having a discussion with Cartagia. That seems like they're on the same page, because Londo is like, okay, check this out. You know what, Emperor? I've been thinking. Since we are going to turn Centauri Prime into this pyre, I thought, who's gonna be here to remember you for your glory? And Cartagia is like, what are you talking about? We're not leaving anybody behind. Nobody's gonna remember. And then Londo is like, no, but the rest of the galaxy needs to know you the way that we know you. And he's like, why would I care about what other people think? And then this is where he...
Which is like,
huh?
the craziest thing for someone to say who wants to be a god.
I know, right?
I need people to worship me.
Right. And that's the thing. Londo, he's like, but what good is it to be a god if you don't have worshipers, if people don't go to your statues, to your temples? I got it. We should leave someone behind. And then Cartagia's like, are you saying, Londo, that you don't want to join me in godhood? And Londo's like, oh, no, don't be so ridiculous. I'm going to be with you. No, we need to send someone else. We need to set something else up. And this is where he suggests, this is what we're going to do. We should send Jakar to Narn to do his trial and execution. And it's like, that way when people, when they see how powerful we are, they will remember you as the emperor, and the Centauri people will be remembered forever. So basically what they're trying to do is scar the Narn one more time before they yeet off out of the galaxy, out of existence. And Cartagia actually considers, like, you know what? That's not such a bad idea. And he's like, how long would this take? He's like, well, 3 days. 3 days there, 3 days back. That gives us 6 days. He's like, oh, that'll be perfect. We'll be able to have a whole day to do the execution and then my ascension. Londo's like, oh, we wouldn't even have to do a whole day for the execution. We could do half a day. And Cartagia, being his complete unreasonable self, is like, yeah, but we should give people a whole day to bask in my glory. And so That's the thing. They wanted to use the Narn as witnesses to Cartagia's greatness, which is a
Like
wild thing to think of.
Like the Narn are going to worship you.
Right. They absolutely will not.
Oh, I mean, if he's a part of the Pantheon, he could be a demon.
Well, that's my. Ooh, you know what? Now you gave me another question. Like, is he gonna be one of the Centauri gods, or is he gonna be trying to be the Centauri god? You know, makes me wonder.
Yeah, because I think he's supposed to be a part of the Pantheon. Because they have.
Because like, where did he get the idea from? There has to be something in the Centauri past.
Yeah, because that's where their gods come from.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Egyptian pharaohs become gods after they die.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're not gods of anything. They just go get.
They're just they're just with the gods. And I think some of the similar things happened with the Romans too. They were like, oh, the Caesar, he's a god.
Well, Romulus and Caesar. Yeah, it was common for like people who were just really popular and noticeable to just be seen as gods.
Yeah,
that happens often, especially in Eurasia.
Yeah. So back on Babylon 5, outside you see that there are a lot of ships. This is the fleet that is gathering because Sheridan wants to have the largest fleet in history, because when it comes time to fight the Vorlons, he wants to be more than prepared. And it's not just the Vorlons he's fighting, he's also fighting the shadows. And then Sheridan has a conversation with Delenn, and he says, okay, I really care for you. You've been by my side the whole time. I think you deserve to know. She's like, deserve to know what? Sorry. And they explain, I'm sorry to do that, because they do that to Delenn sometimes in this show. I don't know why.
I mean, that's what she does. So.
So this is like wrapping up the show anyway. But come to find out, Sheridan is explaining that, yes, on Zahadum, Sheridan died. Lorien is like, Sheridan was gravely wounded, he died. But I used some of my life force to bring back his life force. I can't create life. I can only, blow into embers and extend it. And Sheridan explains, like, I've had Franklin do all these tests on me, and he found some amazing stuff. There seems to be something in my blood, like, working to heal my cells and keep me alive. And we're thinking, like, as the audience and with Delenn, like, that's great. And he goes, well, there's one more thing. Lorien says again, like, I can't really create life. I can only extend it a little bit. And when I say a little bit, just a little bit. And Delenn is like, well, how long? And they all look at each other. And he says, 20 years, give or take. Maybe. And she's like, 20 years? You told me your species can live to be 100. And it's like, yeah, but man, this dude died. Like, he's supposed to be dead 2 weeks ago. Like, come on now. He's already on borrowed time.
But, okay, that, and you watch humans die. You've killed humans before. Like, we don't automatically just live until 100.
Right,
like,
right.
At least you know how much time he has left. And you want to get excited every time he risks his life.
Right. Right. I think what Lorien said was, like, barring any injury or illness, 20 years. Mm-hmm. So if something happens to Sheridan in the meantime, yeah. And this is where Sheridan is like, since I only got 20 years, I want to spend it with you. And he pops out a ring and he proposes to Delenn.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
He doesn't even ask for a proposal. He's just like, well, I need you to have this. It's kind of like a insurance for the next ring, because I want to spend my life with you. Like, he just never actually proposes. He just explains it.
Yeah. It makes me think of Hawkeye from the Avengers. Remember how he always had a project? I can't remember, was it Age of Ultron or something like that? He always had a project that would like make sure that he had to come home to finish it, because if he didn't have anything to do to come home, then it was like there's no reason to come home. So then, it's kind of like his ritual to stay alive. Mm-hmm. That's what that reminds me of.
Oh, gotta come home to her.
Gotta come home to her. Back on Centauri Prime, they're in their secret chambers with a bunch of Centauri in their cool uniforms. They look like Austrians to me. Sometimes they look like Austrians. Sometimes they look like Romans. Sometimes I don't know. They're yeah.
They mixed up a lot of stuff to come up with their aesthetic.
Yeah. And they're getting ready to leave Centauri Prime to go to Narn. And Cartagia is a little bothered. And he's like, Mollari, I don't like the way he's looking at me. Meaning Jakar. Jakar is there staring a death stare through homeboy. It's like, what do you think I should do about it? Londo, to his credit, and sorry, I don't do this very often, but to his credit, so he doesn't show any like preference for Jakar, he goes, oh, I'm pretty sure that whatever you decide will be the right thing, Your Majesty. And then he just kind of marches off. And Cartagia, being the lunatic that he is, he's fixated on the way a prisoner looks at him.
No, he's looking at me.
Right. And he's like, yeah, I don't like it at all. And he goes, I've got it. Pluck out his eye. And the guards are like, all right, which one? He's like, I don't care. Anyone. And then it zooms in on Jakar's beat up face, and he looks even more pissed. Like, yeah. And then the show goes off, and we are moving one more step towards that prophecy.
Yeah.
So there's the show. It moved the story forward. This is definitely more plot development, plot led than anything. To me, the only characters that were being explored were Londo, Cartagia, and Garibaldi. Like, there's a lot going on with those three. Everybody else is kind of like faded into the background.
Especially Ivanova.
Yeah, especially Ivanova. And I guess you could say Ulkesh a little bit, but he was such a nothing character. Him dying really didn't make that much of a big deal. Other than, like, you have this Vorlon that's watching you, now you got to kill him. Technically, they killed a Vorlon, but the amount of effort that went into it was monumental. So, humans cannot go one-on-one with a Vorlon. They would get destroyed.
And I can't help but think if it was a Vorlon against, like, Starfleet,
oh, right,
they would have, like, thought their way through this, tried to figure out a long time ago what type of thing they were, other than just asking.
Or they would have reversed polarity on their tractor beam and caused a warp bubble or something.
Right. Because obviously they're energy form.
Yeah.
They're forms of energy. He made it clear that they're a different type of, they're not organic like everyone else. And
well, they're not solely organic, because remember episode 1, the Vorlon was poisoned, but we still don't know how.
Well, okay, so if they're energy, then the poison would be like introducing a different type of energy that interrupted the way his energy flows. Yeah, and also their ships are half organic.
Yep.
So maybe the energy forms a energy a form, kind of like a see, this is why Starfleet will figure it out, because they're probably more like what do you call it? A hologram, where it's energy that brings together a form that can be dispersed and brought back together and stuff, but it's conscious energy that does things. And that would be where you come up with throwing together a bunch of, vocabulary that has to do with the way energy works to come up with whatever it is they that Jordy's going to say. So,
Yeah. And then think about this too. They're fighting shadows. They could blow up shadow ships, which they found out using telepaths would be very helpful. So maybe we got some tools that we can use. But how strong are the Vorlons? We don't know. They got a giant ship that can blow up planets, but can we actually kill Vorlons? Does blowing up their ships do that same type of damage? A lot of good questions.
mm-hmm.
Yep. We're moving towards a confrontation. And this is still the Shadow War, the Great Shadow War. But these two enemies are now on the same side, which is against humans and now the Alien Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what happens. Also, we're moving towards whatever Cartagia is planning to do. And of course, Londo is trying to set things up to have Jakar kill Cartagia. So there's a lot of moving pieces still. And this is still episode 4. Same storyline. The war's not over. It's very tense. Yeah, it's tense. Oh yeah, and then there's Garibaldi. Whatever's going on with Garibaldi's been reprogrammed. He's some sort of sleeper agent, and we got to figure out what his objectives are. You know, what's his beef with Sheridan? I mean, if we take clues from before, like they sent Anna after him, okay, that didn't work. Now they're sending Garibaldi. I wonder how that's gonna work.
Yeah. And like it's kind of within character for him to be pissed off that he's out of the loop.
Yeah.
He needs to know. And it's like, oh, well, you pushing me out of the loop? Well, I don't like you now.
Mm-hmm. So my I guess we should go ahead and get out of here because I don't want to ask any spoiler questions. So let's go ahead and get out of here. Thank y'all for joining us for this edition of Voices in Hyperspace. You can continue to follow us and continue the conversation on our YouTube or our Facebook at Voices in Hyperspace. You can follow me, Legendary Black Lion, on Instagram at Legendary Black Lion.
And I'm Captain Mel Asylum. You can find me at millsrebellion.com where I post my books and my social.
Awesome. Well, until next time, we'll see you out there.